What's going on, guys? Welcome into this episode of the Chiefs Zone Podcast. My name is Farzin Vasugia, and happy Monday to all of you. Hope you're all having a great Monday. It is the final week of February. We are getting closer and closer to the NFL Scouting Combine. Teams are arriving. Owners, GMs, agents, incoming draft picks. A lot of people at the Scouting Combine in Indianapolis, but we'll talk about the Scouting Combine a little later this week. In fact, we'll jump into it more tomorrow. We will have a Tuesday podcast. Normally for the offseason, we're just doing Mondays and Wednesdays. And if there's any breaking news that comes up, tomorrow we will do a podcast because Brett Veach, GM of the Kansas City Chiefs, of course, he will be doing a press conference from Indy. So we'll definitely want to hear what he has to say. I'm sure he'll be asked a lot of questions regarding Travis Kelce, Eric Bieniemy's return, where the Chiefs might go. Might even get asked about the Travis Etienne rumors. Probably a question about Rashee Rice, and I mentioned him already. I don't think I have. So a lot of things will come up. Patrick's recovery, those kinds of things. And I'm sure there will be a lot to react to tomorrow night. So we'll do a podcast maybe a little earlier than we usually do instead of doing it this late in the evening. But we'll see. So just make sure you're following. You've got notifications turned on because that's the best way to make sure you don't miss an episode of the Chiefs Zone podcast. Just kind of a quick heads up, the way it all works out. So the NFL Scouting Combine technically is going on right now. That's where they're interviewing the players. But as far as the actual workouts themselves, that starts on Thursday and that goes all the way through, I believe, Sunday. Yes. I know wide receivers, running backs, and quarterbacks all run on the same day, and those are usually the ones that people watch the most. So a lot of people going to be tuning in, and of course, when you're the Kansas City Chiefs, you've got a top 10 draft pick. There's a lot to look for this week here. And another thing to keep in mind with the Combine, and I just mentioned this on social media, and I'll say it on here as well. Yeah, the new league year does not begin until March the 11th, and the quote-unquote negotiating period goes from March 9th through the 11th, where incoming free agents are allowed, and their agents are allowed to speak to other teams. That might be the least enforced rule that the NFL has, because agents are talking to a lot of teams at the Combine. Yes, the Scouting Combine is about these incoming rookies, but there's a lot of activity going on between teams and agents. Some trades get discussed. A lot of negotiating going on. Deals get agreed upon. They're just not official until March the 11th at 3 p.m. Central Time, the earliest, because that's when the new league year officially begins. That's also when free agency officially begins. Officially begins. So we'll touch on some of that on tonight's podcast. Also, I alluded to this earlier when talking about Brett Veach doing a press conference tomorrow. The Chiefs are rumored to be connected to Travis Etienne Jr. There's a report out there that Travis Etienne Jr. has expressed interest in joining the Kansas City Chiefs. What does that mean for the Chiefs? I'll discuss that later on as well. Plus, as you guys know, our first ever Chiefs Zone Live will be at Planet Comic-Con Kansas City next month. It'll take place on March the 29th. The founder of Planet Comic-Con Kansas City, Chris Jackson, will join me later tonight on the Chiefs Zone podcast. That's going to be awesome. I've been interested in Chris Jackson for quite some time in terms of the work that he's done and everything else that he has done, putting together a great show like Planet Comic-Con. And he is very generous to give us some of his time out of his very busy schedule. I'm excited to talk to Chris. So if you're a nerd like I am, you're going to enjoy this conversation. And if you've never been to Planet Comic-Con, Chris and I will discuss what you can expect and what you need to know before you attend Planet Comic-Con KC, which is coming up in just a little over a month, less than 5 weeks away. Again, the Chiefs Zone Live will take place on Sunday, March the 29th. Joining me for that one, Chiefs Hall of Famers Duron Cherry and Neil Smith. You can get your tickets right now at PlanetComicConKansasCity.com. All right. Before we go any further, I want to let you know this podcast is brought to you by SeatGeek. That's where I go to for all of my sports ticketing needs, concerts, whatever it is you want to attend. SeatGeek has all the tickets that you need. And if you're a new SeatGeek customer, you can use my promo code Farzine. Save $20 off your first order from SeatGeek. Go to SeatGeek.com, get your tickets at checkout, enter my promo code Farzine. If you're a new SeatGeek customer, that saves you $20 off your first purchase from SeatGeek. All right, I see you guys in the chat. Appreciate you guys joining me tonight. If you guys have any questions, comments, please interact with me as we go on throughout the night. There's a lot to really get into. Not going to be a long show up until we get to Chris Jackson joining us here, but a couple of things worth getting into. First, let's discuss the big news today for the Kansas City Chiefs. It is official. No reporter had any insight on this. That was expected to happen today, but the Chiefs, they put out one of those thank you graphics like they have with several players over the last few years, and they did that with Mike Danna. That kind of came out of left field. Nobody saw that coming, but they did officially release Mike Danna. It did go through the transaction wire, a report on the transaction wire through the NFL today. So the defensive end for the Kansas City Chiefs had a very solid 2023 season, and that's what led him to getting re-signed to a 3-year deal. But the Chiefs are going to let him go before the final year of his deal gets underway. If you're wondering specifically what that does for the salary cap, the Chiefs saved $8.9 million in cap space. Now, on Over the Cap's calculator, it should have gotten to $2.4 million over the cap. Instead, it's $3.3 million. 3.29 to be exact, but close to 3.3. So I'm not exactly sure how that number works specifically, but listen, it's just a couple of $1 million over the cap. A week ago this time, the Chiefs were $55 million over the cap. That is an astronomical big number over the salary cap. The Chiefs had the biggest salary cap situation in the red more than any other team. And now they have reduced that all the way to $3.3 million. Still have some things to do. One very obvious move that is on the horizon is Jawaan Taylor getting cut. That will save you $20 million in cap space. When that move is going to come, we'll see. I see some of you guys in the chat asking about this, but why haven't the Chiefs cut Jawaan Taylor yet? Usually these things don't happen until right before the new league year begins, like with free agency and all. But because of the way the NFL works now, I mean, let's be honest, you're going to hear the insiders, Adam Schefter, Ian Rappaport, Jordan Schultz, all of these insiders that are going to be at the scouting combine this weekend. They're going to report you about some signings. They may not be official until a couple of weeks, but these negotiations are happening now. And if the Chiefs want to be part of any of these negotiations, they've got to discuss cutting Jawaan Taylor now. They can't wait until the new league year. So I think, yeah, Brad, a couple of people have been asking, what about a potential trade? Yeah, I'm sure the Chiefs are trying to explore that. I mean, is any team going to trade with Jawaan Taylor? Probably not, but I suppose trying to save even more money from that cap hit is worth looking into. But I'd say the odds of that are very, very, very slim. I mean, look, who's going to trade for a guy that's committed 55 penalties in 3 years? And that number could easily have been above 60 if Jawaan Taylor did not miss the last few games like a lot of other Chiefs players did. So we'll have to see how that goes in the coming days. But I would say, listen, expect a release within the next week. I'd be shocked if that was not the case. It would have to happen before the end of Friday. I just feel like it would have to happen before the end of the week. But we'll see. So Mike Danna is let go. And listen, I mean, the Chiefs still have a lot of work to do, not just to be cap compliant, but they've got to find a way to be able to re-sign their free agents. They want to bring back Travis Kelce. They want to bring back Leo Chenal. They want to bring back Tyquan Thornton. Right now, the Chiefs do not have a punter nor a long snapper. Matt Araiza and James Winchester are out there. So those are guys that the Chiefs want to be able to bring back. I think they'd like to bring one of those cornerbacks back in Jalen Watson or Josh Williams, maybe Najee Johnson. We'll see, but there's a lot for them to figure out in the next week or so. Cutting Mike Danna was one of the very expected moves. It wasn't a surprise that they cut Mike Danna. I guess it was just a surprise that it happened today because there was no indication of that coming now. Usually there's an indication from one insider that will get a little heads up from somebody, from a source, if you will. And we just never got that with Mike Danna, but it was expected nonetheless. So not that big of a deal. So what do the Chiefs do? Juwan Taylor's got to be next. So if you cut Juwan Taylor, and again, right now the Chiefs are exactly $3.29 million over the cap. All you've got to do is cut Juwan Taylor. That saves you $20 million in cap space. Now there's going to be a $7.4 million dead money situation there, but that's not a big deal. The Chiefs will take that dead cap hit because they still save more money letting him go. Could they make a little bit more money or free up more cap space rather by trading him? Yes. And that certainly would be ideal. That would put them at $16.7 million if they traded him. But if they just straight up cut him, it'll be just a little bit less than that. But nonetheless, you're going to be freeing up money to be cap compliant. Now, you still have more work to do. I know a lot of people are wondering what's going to happen with Trent McDuffie. I think he's going to get traded because if you trade Trent McDuffie, that's going to put you $30 million under the cap. After cutting Juwan Taylor and trading Trent McDuffie, you'll be $30 million under. And that is plenty good enough to bring back Travis Kelce, Leo Chenal, Tyquan Thornton, Matt Araiza, and James Winchester. Now, how much of that will allow you to be active in free agency? I've said for a while, I don't know if the Chiefs are going to make a big splash in free agency. So in order to be active in free agency, you've got to do one more thing. You've got to restructure a contract. It's going to be Patrick Mahomes just restructured his. So it's got to be either Chris Jones, who could free up a lot of money for you, Trey Smith, or Nick Bolton. It's got to be one of those three guys. Creed Humphrey, not too far behind. But I think you can free up more cap space with Jones, Smith, or Bolton. Now, with Creed Humphrey, I think Creed Humphrey has had 2 years. He's 2 years into his deal. Let me just double check on that to be sure. Because he signed that deal in 2024, if I'm not mistaken. Now, I think he was still under contract with that rookie deal. So technically 2025 was the first year of his new deal. That's out of the way. Trey Smith was also playing under a new contract last year as well. It was supposed to be the franchise tag, but they were able to agree to a new deal for the 2025 season. So restructuring someone's contract will free up much more cap space. So if I do this right now, if you restructure Chris Jones's deal, that will put you, give or take, $50 million in cap space. That'll free up, give or take, $20 million in cap space. That should be enough to bring in a guy like Travis Etienne Jr. Now, again, if you're Kansas City, you got to do much more than that because of draft picks. You got to get ready for free agency during the season whenever players get injured, you promote someone from the practice squad, or you sign someone off the street and bring them straight to the 53-man roster. One of those avenues to try to fill in either your main roster or your practice squad roster, kind of like what we saw this year. We saw a lot of injuries, a lot of guys get placed on IR, which led to practice squad elevations and then guys getting replaced on the actual practice squad. So we'll see what Kansas City chooses to do with that. But a Jawan Taylor cut, a Trent McDuffie trade, and a Chris Jones restructure will give the Chiefs, give or take, $50 million to play with. I think 20 to 25 million of that will go to Travis Kelce, Leo Chenal, Tyquan Thornton, Matt Ariza, and James Winchester. And that'll give you about 20 or so million to play with for free agency. And so that leads me to my next point here is the report that came out on a Friday night, of all times for reports to come out. Friday night, this came from Pete Sweeney of the Kansas City Star. He put out there that Travis Etienne Jr. is, quote, and I just want to make sure I have the right quote here, there's legitimate interest from Travis Etienne to come to KC. Usually we hear about teams expressing interest. It's usually not the player expressing interest here. Now, I'm sure this report would not come out if the Chiefs were not interested. This probably means that both sides have strong interest in trying to make something work to bring Travis Etienne to Kansas City. Now, I know Travis Etienne might not be the most exciting name out there in terms of filling in that running back void that the Chiefs really need help at desperately. I think a lot of people would rather have Breece Hall. I think a lot of people would rather have Jeremiah Love because he's younger. And I'll say this, just because the Chiefs do, if they do sign Travis Etienne, do you completely shut out the possibility of Jeremiah Love coming to Kansas City? Look, never say never, but I think the odds of that are extremely low because Kansas City needs serious help at defensive end. And if Ruben Bain Jr. happens to be there at 9, I think David Bailey will be gone. Ruben Bain Jr., there's a chance. I think either Ruben Bain Jr. or Jeremiah Love will be available for you at number 9. And whoever's there, you got to take him. If Ruben Bain Jr. is there, you take him. That helps your defense a lot, especially the secondary when you're going to have probably a lot of new faces in the secondary this year. I don't think anyone should be shocked if the Chiefs go after a lot of defensive backs in this year's draft like they did a few years ago in 2022 when they drafted a bunch of defensive backs. They had 4 cornerbacks from that one and a safety in Brian Cook, who's also, by the way, free. I think everyone from that group is set to become a free agent this year, except for Trent McDuffie, who's going to be playing for right now under the 5th-year option. So this is one of those situations where Kansas City trying to create all this cap space, and they're right now linked to Travis Etienne Jr. Now, for those who might not be so excited over the name Travis Etienne Jr., let me help you out a little bit. He was 11th in rushing yards with 1,107 yards. Here's where I think Chiefs fans are going to start to get excited about Etienne with some of the stats I'm about to give you. He caught 6 touchdown passes in the regular season. That is the second most among all running backs. Christian McCaffrey had 1 more with the 49ers. By the way, Etienne had another touchdown catch in the playoffs against Buffalo. Now, in the last 3 years, playoffs included, Travis Etienne Jr. has had 825 total touches, receiving and rushing. And of those 825, he fumbled just once. That's a huge deal. He's at 1,000 yards rushing 3 of the last 4 years. And meanwhile, in all 8 years, Patrick Mahomes has been the starting quarterback for the Chiefs. Kansas City has not had a 1,000-yard rusher. Now, Kareem Hunt, he was on his way to becoming a 1,000-yard rusher in 2018, but he got kicked off the team. Everyone knows about that. In 2023, I believe Isaiah Pacheco was less than 100 yards away from having 1,000 yards. Yeah, he finished 2023 with 935 yards. But if you remember, the Chiefs rested all their starters in that game except for Chris Jones because he was chasing an incentive. Travis Kelce was 16 yards away from 1,000. Pacheco, if I'm doing the math off the top of my head, was 65 yards away from getting 1,000 rushing yards. But you just don't ever risk those kinds of things. You just don't. And so the Chiefs, they just rested their starters. But bottom line is they have not had a 1,000-yard rusher since Patrick Mahomes has become the starting quarterback. The last time they had a 1,000-yard rusher was 2017, Kareem Hunt's rookie season, when he led the league in rushing yards, had the rushing title that year as a rookie. So this would be beneficial for Kansas City. This would be huge for the Chiefs. And listen, I think this is an underrated part of the discussion here at running back. And look, nobody's questioning Patrick Mahomes' toughness. I feel like people get so sensitive in Kansas City when you bring this up because it comes off like you're questioning Patrick Mahomes' toughness. Look, it doesn't matter how tough you are. Not being able to play in week 1 does not mean you're not tough. I mean, look, he suffered a torn ACL injury in mid-December and immediately had surgery because the focus point was, let's get ready for week 1 as fast as possible or get back as early as possible. Listen, Tim Grunhard said many times, it's not a guarantee he's there in week 1. Listen, I know Nick Wright was on his show today saying that, well, his prediction is that he'll be dancing at Travis and Taylor's wedding and he'll be ready for week 1. Let's slow down. And look, I see people saying that, and I'm going to keep saying this because I keep getting this comment. Everybody keeps saying that Mahomes no longer is on crutches and no longer has a big brace on his knee. No shit. Guys, I've had surgery before on a torn ACL once. After 3 weeks, you should be off crutches. And we are very well past 3 weeks. In fact, we are past 2 months. So, yes, he is walking fine. Now, is he training? Of course he's training. Listen, professional athletes are a different breed. They're always going to be ahead of the curve than a normal person would from an ACL recovery deal. But he's not training at full speed. He's not going at the pace that everyone would like to think he's going at right now. I mean, he's not going to participate in OTAs. He's just not. It would be an all-timer if Patrick Mahomes was practicing in OTAs in May, 5 months after a torn ACL injury. I mean, that is just not something anybody risks. Nobody does. Listen, playing in week 1 that would be impressive. It would not be completely unheard of, but it's more rare than common. But boy, that'd be impressive. Now, to go back to what I was saying about the running back position, because if you bring in Travis Etienne Jr. and if Mahomes happens to be available in week 1, that's going to help Patrick Mahomes a lot. This takes a lot of pressure off Patrick Mahomes' shoulders because he's going to have a big running back to rely on while, coming back from an ACL tear late in last season. That's going to be the significant part about all of this. So hopefully the Chiefs have that figured out, because if Travis Etienne Jr. comes to Kansas City, that's huge for Kansas City's offense. How do you guys feel about this? How would you guys feel if Travis Etienne Jr. was signed by the Kansas City Chiefs in a couple of weeks? Yeah, I see a couple of people mentioning Kenneth Walker. Look, Kenneth Walker might be, he'll be good. Now, what is he going to demand? I don't know. This is about to get interesting because he just won Super Bowl MVP. And look, do you pay a guy a bunch of money because of one game? Yes, it was the Super Bowl of all games. But do you Do you give McCole Hardman a huge contract because he caught the game-winning touchdown pass in Super Bowl 58? No, nobody did. Look, I'm not trying to diminish winning Super Bowl MVP. That is a huge deal. It doesn't get bigger than that. However, you've got to look at a person's overall body of work. Nobody, and I mean nobody, is going to give someone a massive contract because of one great game. It doesn't matter if that game is a Super Bowl or if that was a Week 10 game. Nobody gets paid. Nobody hits the bank because of one singular game. And I think a lot of people forget about that. By the way, one other quick note about Breece Hall. I'm sorry, not Breece Hall. Travis Etienne Jr. He spent 2 years playing for Doug Peterson in Jacksonville. Now, nobody in Jacksonville will view that as a positive, but in Kansas City, there is a positive aspect of that because Doug Peterson was once the offensive coordinator of the Kansas City Chiefs. And the offense that he runs is very similar to the style of offense Andy Reid runs. So Travis Etienne Jr., if he joins Kansas City, will have some familiarity with that style of offense. Familiarity is always a big deal. It bodes real well. It can always help rather than hurt. So we'll see. Brad says Raiders gave Larry Brown a huge deal after his Super Bowl MVP. I mean, but when was that? That was way back then. Listen, sure, there might be one terrible team that would be so desperate that they're willing to give someone a big deal, but I just don't see that in today's NFL. I just don't see that. Okay, a lot of you guys disagree with me that Kenneth Walker is going to be expensive. Why not Breece Hall? Why Travis Etienne? I like them both, but Hall is better. Hall might be asking for more money. And by the way, here's the other part of it as well. I don't think it's official yet, but there are some rumors out there that Breece Hall is going to get tagged. So, and look, I don't think Jeremiah Love's going to be available at 9. I'd be shocked if the Jets and the Saints both pass on Jeremiah Love. I'd be really shocked. So we'll see. And again, in today's NFL, do you see running backs get paid often? I mean, it's hard to do. I mean, you've got to be Derrick Henry or Saquon Barkley to really prove a team that you deserve a massive deal. So, and I hate that for running backs because it does seem like the game is more and more pass heavy, which I don't think a lot of people are complaining about, but I think it does take away from what we used to see in the 80s, 90s, 2000s, where we had that smash mouth style of football with the running back position. We just don't have that as much anymore. Travis Etienne Jr. just does a lot of really good things that fits the Chiefs offense. And I think that's why the Chiefs view him as the best fit compared to Breece Hall, Kenneth Walker, and Jeremiah Love. All of these options out there at the running back position that the Chiefs could be going after. Raul says Chiefs are not going to spend an arm and a leg on a running back. That's not their style. Yeah. And I don't think a lot of teams would anyway. I don't think a lot of teams would. Etienne, just plug in a couple years. He is 27. Yeah. I would not be surprised if it's a 2 or a 3-year deal max. I don't think it's going to be anything more than that. I bet good money that it's going to be a 1 or a 2-year deal. So it's got to be one of those two things. And I think at the end of the day, Travis Etienne Jr., I mean, listen, 27, he turned 27 in January, right? So that's not young, but that's not terribly old either. I know in the running back position in today's NFL, you might be on the wrong side of your 20s, but you can still produce if you're in the right system and if you're still at a point in your career where you can play well. So we'll see what ends up happening, but it does sound like there's a good chance Travis Etienne Jr. will make his way to Kansas City in free agency. All right, joining us here right now on the podcast is the founder of Planet Comic-Con Kansas City. As you guys know already, we are going to have the first ever Chiefs Zone Live. That'll take place at Planet Comic-Con Kansas City on March the 29th. That is a Sunday, and it will take place at 2:30 p.m. at the Kansas City Convention Center. And the entire Planet Comic-Con Kansas City event will be at the Kansas City Convention Center at Bartle Hall. That'll be from the 27th through the 29th. And joining me right now, the founder of Planet Comic-Con, Chris Jackson, here on the Chiefs Zone podcast. Chris, thank you so much for your time. It's an honor to have you on the podcast. How are you, sir?
Doing very well, thank you. Thank you for having me on.
Oh, well, I appreciate it. First and foremost, thanks to you and your team for giving the green light, approving of all of this. Working with your team has been nothing but great, getting to know them and just getting this all worked out. And we're going to have the first ever Chiefs Zone Live at Planet Comic-Con. Again, that'll be on the 29th. That is a Sunday. That'll be the final day of a 3-day weekend of Planet Comic-Con Kansas City at the Kansas City Convention Center at Bartle Hall. We'll get into all of that shortly. I just kind of want to ask you, starting off, and again, we'll get to the convention, how it all started, and what people can expect this year. But as far as the Chiefs go, what is your Chiefs fandom like? Do you go to games often? Are you watching every game from home? What is your Chiefs fandom like?
Well, my fandom really kind of started in the Mahomes era, and so I do go to at least 1 or 2 games a year. I enjoy it thoroughly. I watch every game now, so I have since 2014. Okay, I started watching when they were winning. Okay, but yeah. But I enjoy it a lot. I even enjoyed it this year. A little harder this year, but still enjoyed it. But yeah, I moved to Kansas City in 1995, so I really didn't overlap much with the players that are coming to the show when they were playing. But I enjoy it. I do follow the Chiefs very closely now.
That's awesome. You mentioned you go to games. Do you tailgate? Are you a tailgater, or do you just show up for the game? Tell me about your game day experiences.
My experience,
a memorable one.
So I have a friend who, for several years, has been the head of hair and makeup for the Kansas City Chiefs cheerleaders, and she can usually get me tickets to 1 or 2 games a year. And I also, through our concessions provider, Aramark, I can get tickets. So occasionally I'm in a box at the stadium. I have not tailgated so far. That I have not done. So, but I enjoy it thoroughly. I really enjoy going out and even sitting with the crowd. The box is fun too, don't get me wrong. But sitting with the crowd and the energy and enthusiasm of the crowd, it's really fun. So
I don't know if you're a warm weather guy or a cold weather guy. The box is more preferable when it's cold.
Yes, and that a couple of the games I've gone to, I get the box 1 game a year. That's it. That's all I get. So I'm not high up on the priority list, but they're kind enough to provide me with 1 game a year. So, and I do not go to the other cold games. My friend Ashley, who works with the cheerleaders, she's at all these games, even the 20 below Miami game and all those.
Oh, gosh.
Not for me. Not for me. So you attend? You attend every game?
I usually go to 1 a year. Sometimes home, sometimes away. Just kind of depends. But this past year, I think I went to 1 preseason game at home, and then I went to the last game of the year against the Raiders. That was. I've never been to a game that boring before, Chris. It was just field goals and a safety backup from both teams. But they paid a lot of money to travel to Vegas just to see a bunch of backups play. But no, I mean, it's still fun nonetheless. I mean, you can't do anything about that stuff sometimes. But
it's fandom. Hey, if you're a fan, you support them through good and bad.
Yeah. So. Well, I wanted to ask you because Deron Cherry, Neil Smith, Chiefs Hall of Famers, this will be their first time ever at Planet Comic-Con Kansas City. And I think there might be a lot of people who will be at their first ever Comic-Con event in general because of the fact that you guys are going to have 2 Chiefs players there. If I'm not mistaken, this is the first time. I know professional wrestlers kind of fall under the athlete umbrella, depending who you ask. But as far as like pro athletes, this will, if I'm not mistaken, your first time. What does it mean to you to be able to have Deron and Neil at this event this March?
This will be the first time we've had Chiefs players there. I'm very excited about it. Obviously, the Chiefs provide a lot of entertainment, energy, fandom to the Kansas City area. I feel Planet does the same thing. There's a lot of crossover. fans are fans. They enjoy their particular niche of fandom. And I love bringing this into Planet Comic-Con so people can see them there. It's also a different opportunity because a lot of times when fans see the players, they don't really get to interact with them. They can't get the autograph, they can't get the photo. Planet Comic-Con, that's what it's designed for you to meet them and get an autograph, get a photo. So I'm very excited for that. I also like the opportunity to support these gentlemen who are doing so many good works for Kansas City. Each one of them has a charity. They're there raising money for their charity. And I like Planet being involved in helping them do that. So.
And for those who plan on attending, if you want to meet a celebrity, be able to get an autograph and or a picture, every celebrity will be charging a fee. And for Duron Cherry and Neil Smith, all of their proceeds will benefit their foundations, the Duron Cherry Foundation, as well as the Derek Thomas and Neil Smith Third and Long Foundation. As a matter of fact, Chris, we're going to go ahead and collaborate on this here. So right now on Instagram, you can go on my Instagram at Farzin Vasugian or on Planet Comic-Con Kansas City's Instagram, which is at Planet Comic-Con Official. We are collaborating on doing a 2-ticket giveaway for the entire 3-day weekend.
Yes.
Go on Instagram, check either mine or Planet Comic-Con's. We'll be combining, so you can't miss it. And read all the details, how you can enter for a chance to win. Again, that'll take place on the 27th through the 29th. All the details, when the deadline will be, and when we'll announce the winners will all be there. Chris, I know we were talking about this before we started recording. I went to my first ever Planet Comic-Con Kansas City a couple of years ago. And so I shared it with a couple of your guys who, your team that helps put this together. And they were asking me what was my first Comic-Con experience like. And I told them, Henry Winkler, Tara Strong, John Bernthal, Jamie Kennedy, those were guys I really wanted to meet. And I got my ticket, my brother and I, a week before the event. And I thought to myself, there won't be that many people there.
Oh, you're thinking back to the old days.
Look, this was your 25th year anniversary show, by the way. The first one I attended.
That's the first one you went to. Okay.
Yeah, the one coming up is going to be your 27th anniversary. But
yes.
Boy, the people who I told, your volunteers, that this is my first ever Comic-Con ever, they keep telling me, they say, you picked a crazy one to attend. You guys had a massive turnout. Talk to me about how this started. I know it used to be at the Overland Park Convention Center, but how did the idea form, and what was it like putting together that first Planet Comic-Con Kansas City at the OP Convention Center?
I have been a comic book collector. I'll give you a little history since the 1960s, and I still am a comic book collector. So that's where I started, and that's my interest in this entire genre came from comic books. I then became in the 1980s a dealer in comic books. Was vending comic books at various shows like my own around the country. I'd be one of those guys in the booth selling the comics. I moved to Kansas City in 1995. There's some shows here. I decided that we needed a show a little different. I wanted to run it a little differently. So I, along with a business partner, started Planet Comic-Con in 1999. And it started very small. It was not the Overland Park Convention Center. It was something called the Overland Park International Trade Center. Which no longer exists as a venue for events. The convention center did not exist at that point, the Overland Park Convention Center. That's all right. A lot of people think of it as the convention center there. But I was in the suburbs from 1999 till 2012, and the show kept growing. There's only a small percentage of people in the country that are actually comic book collectors. So how many people can you get to a comic book show? Well, it kept growing every year. And as we expanded into more celebrities, it grew even more. And at some point, we outgrew that facility. Little used had a 50,000 square foot exhibit hall. Right now, the exhibit hall I use is 400,000 square feet, and we fill every inch of it. So the show has changed. But I credit part of the growth of the show. We grew kind of along with the Marvel movies. We were having fairly steady, small growth. Up through 2008, 2009. And then the Iron Man movies came out. And that spurred an interest in comics and in the comic shows that surround them. By 2012, the show had grown, so I needed to move venues. Best thing I ever did, move down to the convention center downtown. It's the only place in the city that has something larger than 50, 60,000 square feet. mean, the old convention center wouldn't even fit my celebrity area now. So I moved downtown, and the show just grew exponentially. It's been quite a thing to watch, and quite a surprise to me the way it has expanded and grown. But I look at the show as having several elements. I think that the media celebrities are what draws the general public. That is the driving force that has caused attendance to go up dramatically. But as I mentioned, I started out as a comic book person, and it's a comic convention, Comic Con, and that is the meaning of those around the country is changed a bit over the years. To me, the comic creators are still central and so important to my event, and I focused a lot on comic creators. Yes, I focus on celebrities also, but Planet Comic Con is also one of the shows that brings in the greatest number of top comic creators in the country. We really do have one of the top shows. Maybe not the top, we're certainly among them. We have some of the best known names in comics, and they come in from all over the world. And this year, for instance, we have a gentleman named Art Germ. He's an artist, incredibly popular. He and several other artists from Singapore are coming in. We have artists coming in from Italy. We have a creator coming in from France. We have many, many local and regional creators. Chris Claremont's coming in. He was a major comic book writer, is a major comic book writer. He wrote the X-Men in the 1970s and 80s for years, decades. And this is his third or fourth trip to the show. But I try to bring in a very healthy and strong comic creator element. So we have media celebrities. We'll have 40 or so media celebrities. Comic creators, 40 or so comic creators. We have a vendor area where people can buy pop culture related merchandise of all sorts from our vendors that come from all over the country. We have panels and presentations where you can see people talk about their various creations, their various shows. We have workshops, things of that nature. And one of the big changes in conventions of my type is cosplay. Cosplay has become integral in the last 10 years, 15 years. And I really like that aspect of it. It's very visual. When you come to Planet Comic Con, you'll see that because right inside the door is my cosplay area, right inside the main entrance. I like people coming up the escalators, entering Planet Comic Con, and being struck by all the colors and visuals and costumes. That's important to me to see that. Another thing that's happened with that is it's dramatically expanded the participation of young women and women in general in Comic Cons all over the country. And that's just a nice feature. Comic Cons used to be kind of a boys' network, and that's no longer the case. And cosplay is a large part of that, not all of that by any means, but a large part of that. So we have an artist alley filled with creators, everything from starting their first book, trying to present it to the public, to, as I said, the top names in the business. For instance, we got a very strong local and regional comic creator community. Yeah. Several of the local regional gentlemen have started a new publishing company called Ignition Press. Jeremy Hahn, B. Claymore, and several others. They're all going to be there as a studio for one of the few appearances this year, presenting their products. Jeremy Hahn is the creator of Beauty, the show that's just what is the streaming now? Hulu, I think, on Hulu. So,
okay.
But Jeremy will be there, and a lot of other prominent comic creators. So that's always a very important part of the show to me, is to keep a focus on comics. A lot of shows around the country have not done that. They've gone celebrities and they de-emphasize the comics. I like to keep the emphasis on the comics.
And to kind of back up what you were saying, because, following last year's show, and I'm kind of, I consider myself, still a rookie attending these kinds of shows because I've been to Planet Comic Con Kansas City and you guys do a tremendous job. And I say that because, and this leads me to my point, is that I was looking around other places across the country to see, what their guest list is like. And I know some of the top national shows at much bigger markets, they had nearly the same guest list as what you guys had last year for Planet Comic Con KC. So it really does go to show just, how great of a job you guys really do, and being able to get a lot of big name guests, a lot of popular guests to attract a crowd to be able to come out and see these people, meet them, attend their panels and whatnot. I don't know how much you want to get into the process of what it's like to try to bring these celebrities in. I know you mentioned 40 or so celebrities for this
Correct.
year's upcoming Planet Comic Con, as well as all these comic writers and creators. What is it like trying to put the schedule together and bring out and invite these celebrities to your show?
Well, that's one of the things that's changed over the years. Planet Comic Con has, for whatever reason, and I'm very grateful for it, become known as one of the better shows for celebrities to attend. And as that has happened, it's become less difficult to get top celebrities to attend. A lot of these shows you're looking at are shows owned, like a corporation will own 4, 5, 6, 7 of the large shows. I am one of the few that's solely owned single show. This is my show. Well, I've got the anime show in the fall as well, Planet Anime Kansas City, which I started 3 years ago. But a lot of the shows can offer celebrities, oh, we can bring you in for 6 different shows. I have the one show, but celebrities want to come to Planet. It's known as a place where there's lots of enthusiasm, lots of people seeking to meet them, seeking autographs, seeking photos. And that's made it much easier over the years to land talent like this. For instance, this will be William Shatner's, I think, 4th trip to my show. And we're getting top talent like Jared Padalecki, Elijah Wood, and many others. Just Priscilla Presley's coming in.
Yeah.
We go beyond just movie and TV. We've had some very successful, like this year in the area of music, we have the front man for Iron Maiden coming in. This is not a person that you can generally just sit down and get his autograph and take a picture with him, but this is an opportunity to do that. Bruce Dickinson's coming in. A few years ago with Alice Cooper, that's what told me that this would work, because Alice Cooper came in and the response to him was phenomenal. He had an amazing show. Wonderful man, by the way. Basically, when I talked about, we got Phil, Kelly, and I as part of our guest selection committee. Between the three of us, we know agents or the celebrities themselves. We can contact them. We know who to contact. There's almost nobody who can't reach with a couple of phone calls. Hey, do you know who the agent is for so-and-so? And we can find that person. Write to them and see what their terms are to make an appearance. So it's really, that's how it's changed. Now they respond to us. And now we are sought out by agents. They write to us. They offer us the people from their rosters. And it's actually one of the most difficult things is deciding who to bring to the show, because we get offered, let's face it, several hundred people, and we have to choose 40. So it makes it difficult because it's hard to turn down some of the agents. Some of them I've known for many, many years, and it's hard to say no, but I have to do it because we have to keep our guest list somewhat limited. That's another thing that's important to me. I think if you have too many guests, it gets a little unwieldy. So we try to keep it more to a manageable number.
That's awesome. I mean, listen, having to reject people is never awesome, but it's a good problem to have. You know, it's kind of like the Chiefs right now, where, you know, there's a limit as to how much you can really spend with the salary cap for football. But, you know, when you're spending too much, except for this past year, I know we alluded to that earlier, but when you're winning so much, you can't just keep re-signing everyone because everyone wants a bunch of money. I remember 15 years ago, that was an issue because the Chiefs could not bring good players here. Now they're having a very difficult time keeping great players. So that's immediately what I think of. It's almost like that correlation right there in a way. I by the way, I wanted to shout out a couple of the comic creators. I know it's to my understanding, someone from your team mentioned this, that Andy Parks is a listener of the show, which is really cool. Yes. And I'd like to have him on. I know he's done Green Arrow as well as the writing for Extraction, which is a really big hit on Netflix, which with Chris Hemsworth. Another creator that is going to be at Planet Comic Con KC next month is Jim Starlin. He is best known for creating Thanos. I mean, listen, I'm like an information sponge. That's why I love doing podcasts with people and having them on the show so I can ask them a bunch of questions, because I always want to know things. So if you're one of those people that likes to know things, go up to these comic creators and ask them, you know, what was the idea in creating Thanos? Like, that's pretty exciting to have those guys there as well.
I've said that comic creators are a focus for me. I'm very excited to have Jim back. This is his second trip to Planet. He's created many other characters as well. He's the original artist on Warlock as well, way back in the 80s, I think. So, and you mentioned Andy Parks. Andy, we have a very strong creator community in the Kansas City area, and one of those creators is Andy Parks. Andy designed my flyer for my first show in 1999. So I've known Andy for a while.
That's awesome.
So I think Andy has missed 2 conventions for Planet. One, because it fell on the weekend his son was born. The other, because he was teaching in the UK that year and was gone from the United States. Other than that, Andy Parks has been to every Planet Comic-Con Kansas City. He's also a huge Chiefs fan, by the way. So, yes, he's one you should talk to. And it's always also gratifying to see the evolution of a lot of the creators here. Andy has been working on various books for years, and he created the graphic novel that became Extraction several years ago. It's always nice to see that get picked up and to see a creator become that successful based on work that he's been doing for years. Another creator that's it's involved with the sports world is Anthony Oropeza. He'll be at the show. Are you familiar with Anthony?
Yes,
Anthony
I know of him. I've seen his work on Instagram. Yes.
He's also been doing Planet Comic-Con been setting up a Planet Comic-Con off and on for many years. And now he's very well known in the sports world for his art of various sports, mostly Chiefs and Royals players, I think, but he goes beyond that. So there's a lot of connection and crossover. We got a lot of very prominent creators in this area. Scotty Young is one of the top artists in the business, and he lives just a few miles from here in Kansas City, so in the Overland Park area. So
I know we've talked about celebrities, actors, voice actors, comic creators, and I know we started talking about artists as well, but talk about the vendor hall area, that portion of Planet Comic-Con, because I think for those who might be new to Comic-Cons in general, and maybe they're not fully understanding what they're about to get into here, there's going to be a massive vendor hall with a lot of different things out there. For those who might be new to Planet Comic-Con Kansas City, talk about that and what can people expect from that front there.
Well, Planet offers a lot of things, but one of the things is shopping. If you're a collector, if you're a pop culture enthusiast, if you want to find pop culture related apparel, pop culture plushies, pop culture pops, you want to find comic books, we'll have vendors for all of those things. Posters, prints, pins, plushies, whatever it is, there will be vendors there for those products. Come prepared to shop. They want you to shop. We have several hundred vendors coming in. I think we have 300 to 400 vendors, another 300 to 400 people in Artist Alley. And the people in Artist Alley are also vending their prints, things made from their new creations. So it is a shopping paradise for the pop culture enthusiast in virtually all types of collectibles. So pop culture related collectibles.
And I will say this too. I mean, there are a lot of sports stuff there as well. And we were mentioning artists a moment ago, and I apologize, I don't remember the name of the vendor, but I've seen them a couple of years in a row now. And I did purchase. They have like the Mount Rushmore of Kansas City Chiefs, Dallas Cowboys, professional wrestlers. Like they go into so many. I think they even have like band members on the Mount Rushmore. I have the one with Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, Chris Jones, and Andy Reid on the Mount Rushmore.
Oh, okay, okay. I see what you're saying.
Even like things like that,
a print or a plaque.
Yeah.
Mount Rushmore style. I can't name that one offhand. I don't recall, but yeah, we've got several vendors of that type at the show. Absolutely.
Yeah, there are going to be a lot of sports stuff there too. You know what's really unique is there are some vendors that have like weapons. So if you're like a Legend of Zelda fan, for example, you can get the exact design of the sword. Well, not the exact specific design of the sword, but I don't know exactly how they designed those. But you can basically have like a soft weapon of that. You know, a lot of people.
I want to emphasize, we don't allow the sale of metal or bladed weapons.
Yes,
but things made from foam or if they're 3D printed, that kind of thing, we'll have a lot of that there. There's a lot of vendors of that kind of merchandise. We also have a vendor there that will do a 3D scan of you and make a statue of you. Yeah. So 3D HQ right up by our cosplay area. So.
Well, let me ask you this, Chris, because I remember attending my first Comic-Con event at Planet Comic-Con a couple of years ago. There are some things I wish I knew going into it. But you certainly you live and learn, that kind of thing. But for those who have never attended a Comic-Con before, and if Planet Comic-Con Kansas City is going to be their first ever convention in a couple of weeks, What advice do you have for new attendees?
The first thing would be buy your ticket in advance, and then if you can, go to one of our early credential pickup locations and get your credential. It's much easier to get in the door once you have your credential. No, it might sound trivial, but we have a large crowd on Friday and Saturday.
Yeah, that is 100% true. Yes,
And
especially Saturday.
well, we've been very fortunate. The show's grown like that, so we feel very good about that. And as far as what they can expect, I would go to the website and check our calendar, see what you want to do. If there's a panel you want to go to, if there's a particular celebrity you want to meet, we have schedules for signing and photo ops. By the way, there are professional photo ops, and the other option for photos is some celebrities will do selfies at their table. We call it the selfie with the fan's camera. You can decide which one you want. There will be a fee for both of them. There's also a fee for autographs from each celebrity. It's part of the business. And so you need to be ready for that. Check what you might want to do. If there's a particular panel you want to go to, set that time aside, make sure you can get there. We'll have an app you can download. It'll be ready probably 2 to 3 weeks before the show. Download the app, put your schedule into the app, and try to keep to that schedule. So you don't miss the panel you want. If you want to see the Twilight crew, we have 4 people from Twilight coming in, Cullen Clan 5 actually with Maggie Grace. Make sure you calendar that panel so you get to see that. I'm trying to think. Plan your schedule and plan some shopping time. Plan some time to wander and visit the various vendors. You'll find something interesting in Planet in the vendor area. So.
I'll say this because a lot of the people listening are sports fans, and let me back up a bit because with my podcast, with how much that's grown over the years, I get recognized here and there at Chiefs games and Royals games. But last year at Planet Comic-Con, there were dozens of people who approached me saying, "Hey, I love the podcast, love your content, all that stuff." So there are a lot of sports fans who do attend.
Yes.
I think there are a lot of sports fans that maybe this is not really their thing, but because Duran and Neil will be there, they might give this an opportunity. So yeah, definitely arrive early, and I can certainly attest to all of that. I wanted to ask you if you have like a memorable event or a favorite memory from Planet Comic-Con KC over the years.
Pretty much I do. As I said, I've been a comic collector since the 60s, and I collected Marvel Comics. My favorite character when I was growing up was Spider-Man. Spider-Man was... Stan Lee is a creator, well known to pretty much everyone. And he was the editor of Marvel Comics for many years and the creator of many of the characters in Marvel Comics. And I always wanted to have Stan as a guest. And I worked and worked and worked from show one to get Stan Lee. Finally, in 2016, I had Stan Lee as a guest at my show. And that was a task, even getting him booked as a guest. But it was incredibly gratifying to bring him in to meet all the people that had grown up on his comics, me being one of them. So I'd say Stan Lee is probably one of my most interesting guests. Another is Jason Momoa, who's interesting. I know Jason Momoa is a Chiefs fan. That's one.
Yeah.
And at the show, he actually on one of the days wore a Chiefs jersey, I think a Len Dawson jersey, during his photo ops, his professional photo ops.
That's awesome.
And I did mention, I started saying photo ops. We also have professional photo ops. A professional photographer comes in and takes photos, prints them up. You'll have your photo in 5 minutes. But Jason Momoa came in, and interestingly, you can probably figure by looking at me how close he and I would be. He grew up not 15 minutes from my house. Yeah. I grew up in Des Moines. He grew up in Norwalk, Iowa. He graduated from high school in Norwalk, Iowa. You might not think that looking at Jason Momoa, but he did. So it was really kind of fun to have him out to the show and have somebody who grew up where I did that nobody would have guessed that would be the case, to have him as a guest of the show. This is right when the Aquaman movie was coming out in 2018. And of course, Jason Momoa is now an A-list Marvel, A-list actor. So
yeah,
it was an exciting time to have him at the show as well. So, but there's so many over the years. We've had so many great guests. William Shatner, of course. He's Star Trek. He's the guy in Star Trek. This will be he's graced us with this time his 4th appearance. It was important to me to have him this year because it's the 60th anniversary of Star Trek, and we're gonna have Captain Kirk himself at the show. So
that's awesome. That is
really
awesome.
exciting. So
I was going to ask you if you've got like a favorite comic, but you already answered that when you were mentioning Spider-Man.
Sure.
I'm curious. Do you have maybe more comics that you were a big collector of over the years?
I for many years was a collector mostly of the superhero comics and mostly Marvel. I started out with DC when I was really young, switched to Marvel, but my collection includes most of the keys of the 1950s and 60s in DC and Marvel. So, but in the last few years, I've gotten more into reading, old Wonder Woman comics. I find fascinating, beautiful art. Wonder Woman from the 1940s, an artist by the name of H.G. Peter. And I also collect heavily teen and romance comics of the 1940s and 1950s. Sounds like an odd thing to collect. So that's one thing I buy a lot of. So still, I shouldn't be. I'm getting older. I should not be buying. I should be selling.
Hey, you're never too old for these things. No one is.
It's gratifying to run a show where I can see people enjoying what I've enjoyed my whole life. I've been a collector my whole life. We hadn't talked about it quite in this way, but I look at Planet Comic Con as providing a safe space for enthusiasts of various genres to be able to come out and enjoy their particular niche of fandom without judgment. And for a long time, that wasn't always the case. I think a lot of people that come into fandom it was not welcomed when they were in elementary school, junior high school. It's more common now. Now it's kind of cool to be the nerd. But that wasn't always the case. But we provide a venue where people can come out and feel safe enjoying their fandom. So, in all types of fandom, everyone's welcome.
Who was the very first guest you had at Planet Comic Con, Casey?
My very first celebrity guest was Kenny Baker. Kenny Baker is the little guy who literally was inside R2-D2 during the filming of the Star Wars movie.
That's right.
And he was a funny guy. I enjoyed Kenny. He came out to the show twice. He was my first guest in March of 1999, and then he came out I think in 2006 or 7. He's gone now, but he was my first guest, and he was a pleasure. He really was. He was fun, and we always enjoy that. And in the early years, we had a lot of fun people. Julie Newmar, Catwoman, was there.
You've had a lot of guests over the years.
I've had a lot of guests. So.
Chris, before we let you get out of here, is there anything else that we didn't cover that you want to get out there that people should know about for Planet Comic Con KC this year, which is going to be coming up in just a little over a month?
It's getting close. It's going to be here very quickly. I would say, let's remind people, it's March 27 to 29. That's Friday, Saturday, Sunday. It's Friday, 1 to 8 p.m., Saturday, 10 to 7 p.m., Sunday, 10 to 5. It gets very busy early on Friday and early on Saturday. Sometimes, if you want to meet, and the Chiefs, when are they going to be there on Sunday? Do you have a time?
I think they plan on being there the whole day.
Okay.
Then they'll take their lunch break, and then they'll be part of the Chiefs Zone Live at 2:30.
Right, we got the Chiefs Zone Live recording at 2:30, or taking place at 2:30.
Yeah.
Sunday is our family day, so 13 and under are free on Sunday, so that's a good day to come in for families. We have numerous events going on. There is a full slate of panels, full slate of presentations. In the evening, we have two things that are very popular. We have a drag show on Friday night. We have a cosplay contest on Saturday night. Two of the most popular events. Both those evening events. We have events going on at the convention center Friday and Saturday night till 1 a.m., I believe. So I would say get out there, depending on what you're trying to do. If you don't want to hit the crowd, come a little later on Saturday morning. It'll be a little easier to come at noon than to come at 9. If you have to see a panel that's at 11, get there early, though. You want to be there early if you're going to be at an early panel. So become planning to meet the people you've seen on television, the people you've seen in movies, meet the people who created the comic books you've read, created the films you've seen, such as Andy Parks creating Extraction. And I think it's fun to meet those folks. Go to our website, check out the names there, check out the guests. We have 40 some people coming in. And there's some top actors. There's a lot of fun. Elijah Wood's coming in from Lord of the Rings, along with Sean Astin. So we've got Frodo and Samwise Gamgee. So you'll be able to meet these folks. Bring your books that you might want to get signed. We also have authors there. Check who our authors are. Come and get the book signed. And come out and enjoy the show. Enjoy the experience. It is a festival, and it is very visual and very colorful. Come out and enjoy it.
Yes, and actually, I'm glad you mentioned, bringing books, or I see sometimes people bring like the actual VHS box to have someone sign. One guest we haven't mentioned, Karen Ashley, who was on the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. If you have like the Yellow Ranger helmet, yeah, definitely bring that if you would like for that to be signed. Things like that, for sure. Yes, I agree.
I was at an event yesterday and watched somebody buy a La Bamba VHS because Lou Diamond Phillips. And they've bought it specifically to bring for Lou Diamond Phillips to sign. Yes, you'll be there at the show as well. So,
well, Chris, I've got to say, this is an honor. Thank you so much for being on here. If you guys are interested in attending, Planet Comic-Con is on March the 27th through the 29th. If you'd like to purchase tickets, go to planetcomiccon.com. And as we've mentioned many times, arrive early, especially for some of these events. It gets packed very early. The Chief Zone Live will be on Sunday the 29th at 2:30 p.m. We'll have more details specifically where inside the convention center it'll be. But Neil Smith and Duron Cherry, Chiefs Hall of Famers, will be joining me for that one. Chris, the founder of Planet Comic-Con here on the Chief Zone podcast. Once again, it's an honor to have you on. Look forward to meeting you in person at the convention, and it's going to be here sooner before we know it.
Thank you.
All right. Appreciate it, Chris. That is Chris Jackson, the founder of Planet Comic-Con Kansas City, joining us here on the Chief Zone podcast. Appreciate you all joining us here. My name is Farzin Vasugian. If you guys enjoyed any part of this live stream, please share it. Let your friends know. If you missed any part of it, it'll be archived very shortly on Facebook, X, YouTube, Apple, Spotify, anywhere where you can download and check out a podcast. Until then, I will talk to you all tomorrow. Take care.